Hello there, it's Tails from Studio Welfare here, and it's Monday morning, so it's time for another Monday morning map build. And it's also the 1st of December, which means Christmas is just around the corner, and the chaos of the month of Christmas is starting. Oh, kill me now. Yes. Okay, so, apart from that, let's have a look at where we're at with our bit of map building that we've been doing. So let's go into our images. So last time that I was on, I built the top floor. So let's have a look at that. Hello. There we go. It's taking a few moments to come up. So here's our top floor. I'll just unlock it so that we get access to this panel, and I'll pop in a candle. Look, there we go. So that way I have something to drag around. So yeah, so you can see this is the map. We've got a room with a table. There's some bones on the floor. We've got windows. There's a little cabinet thing here with a light on it. There's a barrel here with a light on it. Another window, another, candle on top of a box. And then we come back around here, and this is how we get back down to the lower level. So we built this last time. So I'll get rid of that light. So that's our top floor. So let's lock that off and close it. And then we've got our ground floor. So let's have a look at our ground floor. Here it is. So that's, whereas I'll do it again. Let's create another. So unlock it, create a light, create another candle, pop it out there in the street. So yeah, we have a door, we have some windows. So you come through here, more windows. Then we've got some boxes, and don't know why there's a baby crib there. And we've got a little working desk, and then we have our staircase going up to the upper floor that we just looked at. And then we have a staircase going down to a lower floor. So what we're going to do today is build the lower floor. So that's this current floor. So I'll get rid of that light, and I'll lock this back up again. So yeah, we'll build. Now the great thing about building underground levels that I like to do is usually I build them a little bit bigger than the building that's on top of it, because it's underground. You don't have the restrictions of space as to where your building walls are, because it's all dirt and stone and whatnot. So we have a bit more to play around with. The only thing we've got to do is we've got to remember that our staircase is 2 squares in size. So that's pretty much our only thing that we really need to worry about. So we can really do whatever we like with the underground level. So let us start, and we start by, now if you're new to Fantasy Grounds, how you build adventure maps in Fantasy Grounds, because Fantasy Grounds has a pretty good tool set when it comes to building adventure maps. So you start by opening up your images, which is, so if you're in your campaign, you'll notice that you have a campaign drop down folder, and there will be an images section. So you just click on that, opens this panel. I like to keep everything in folders, so I've created the small tower folder, this is my small tower. You create a category by just popping the little green, and then you edit the name by clicking on the little pencil. Pretty simple. And then let me get out of that. So I'll select, and it's just a drop down list. So if you want to switch between them, uncategorized images. This is my, I double clicked when I shouldn't have. This is my categorized stuff. So if you want to create another one, just, hit the green button. It'll create a unnamed folder. Then you just name it. All good. And then if you want to, put them into folders. Whoops, that just created a copy. Don't need that. You just drag and drop into the folder. But let us add an item and actually get rid of this one. Pop that up there. And we're going to get rid of this panel because we don't need it. Now, this is a blank map canvas. There's nothing on it, as you can see. But we do need to sort of set it up first. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call this, so this is the small tower. I'll have to check if that's what I've called everything. And then I give it like this is the underground level. Then we have a name if it's not identified, so just call it underground level. Like it might, the building might have a proper name, but obviously if your adventurers have not discovered what it is, you may not want to actually give them the name. So first things first, the grid. We need to set our map grid. Now, by default, it's a 50 pixel by 50 pixel map grid, and it's not showing. So you click this little button here, a little icon. The eye displays the grid. Now, map tiles, the ones that I make, use 180 pixel grid. So you just enter 180, and it, boy, there it goes. It's set. It's great. Now we need to get access to our art assets. So in your library, click on assets. This little panel will pop up. It probably, when it first appears for you, it'll probably be like about yay big and sitting in the middle of your screen like that. That's perfectly fine. But since we're going to be map building, and I'll go to the home, it'll probably look like this. Since we're going to be map building, I find it's easier to shrink it down. So it'll be about 3 items wide. And you shrink it by using the little tab at the bottom here. Now, I like to put it up into this corner and then make it fit the whole width. Then move our map so it takes up that space, and then make it fit the rest of the space, because you want access to this panel and you want access to this panel because you're going to be dragging items from here onto here to make your map. Okay, so I think I've been using the dungeon map tiles 4. So let's go to images, dungeon map tiles 4. Yep, this is the one I've been using. So this is our art assets. This is the Dungeon Map Tiles 4 pack. You can find this in the Fantasy Grounds Forge, or you can find it on Drive-Thru RPG. And it's a collection of art assets. So, for example, here's our flagstone road, door tokens, doors. Grungy concrete floor, slender bricks. The slender bricks, it's referring to, if I just get one out, actually hang on, if I just double click, yep, it's referring to the texture. See, these are rather thin bricks. Yeah. Okay, so this is the setup I like to use. So that way everything's easily accessible. You can see the map. And I'll get into the controls and how you can edit things. But yeah, having this setup is how I build maps. Pretty much, I use this setup pretty much in any graphics editing program as well. So if I'm in Photoshop, or if I'm in GIMP or Clip Studio Paint, I'll have this sort of setup. I'll have like the map canvas, the assets off to one side. That way I can just drag and drop between them, no problem. But the next thing we need to do is we need to set up some layer folders. This is how we organize everything, and we do that by coming down here. Just bring that up a bit, make certain you can see it. at the bottom of the this panel on the right has a bunch of little icons. This one here is the add folder icon. As you see, if you click it, adds a folder. We actually need 4. So the first one in the list, call that features. That's where I put feature items. It could be furniture, it could be doors, it could be magic spell effects, it could be whatever. You could call it, like I call it features, you could call it props and objects. Next up, walls. That's where we're going to be putting our wall overlays. Then we have the floor. And next, we have the ground. Some of you might be thinking that you could combine the floor and the ground. Like for example, if we're building building internals, you're hardly ever going to use the ground. But if you're building, say, a ground map, the ground floor of a building, you'll actually have your grassy area and your grass and dirt in the ground folder, and then you'll have the actual floor layer of your building in the floor itself. So it does help with the overlap of items, even though sometimes, depending upon what you're building, you may not use it a lot. So let's jump into, let's build our staircase first, because that's that is where we get into this level. So I'm going to need some passageways. So slender brick overlays, passageways, and there's our dead ends. So we're going to have it come. So it comes down from the left to the right. So we want to have this. So pop it here. Now this might be a good chance, a good time. I'll pop that one there. Now, if you quickly look, you'll see that there are 2 layers in my layer palette that correspond to the 2 art assets that I've just popped down. You can hold it to select multiple. You can hold down Shift, and it will select multiple items. You can also do it with Control if you want to. Say, for example, you want to select that item and then that item and that item. It'll select them. But if you want to select a multiple of things, select that item, hold down Shift, and then the next one, it'll select everything between them. That can be rather good if you're selecting a lot of items and you need to move them around. So we want to put them into our floor folder. Oh, no, hang on. These are walls. So we put them in our wall folder. There we go. So as we build, we'll have lots of items that will come in. So for example, if I just drag this item in, plonk it there, see how everything that's new goes to the top of the list. That's just how Fantasy Grounds works. Other applications will put them into, like for example, it'll put it on top of what's currently selected. So if I drag this in, there we go. No, it doesn't put it on top of what's currently selected. It always goes to the top of the list. Generally, that's fine. But sometimes it can be, you've just got to remember that's where it's going to go, and then you need to move it later on. Okay, so this is our staircase. So it's coming down from above down to here. So let's actually pop in those steps. So we're using grungy concrete as our floor. So I'm going to pop a layer there. Now we go to our steps folder, and we're going to place, I'm going to use this one first. It will go there, and then this one, it will go here. So I'm going to move these into my floor folder, and I'm probably going to need to arrange them, because I want to have this folder, this layer. Well, now it's actually in the right position. See how it's coming in underneath that step? That's what we want. So it's in the right position. So that is our staircase coming down from above. Now, one thing I'm going to go and grab, which I don't think I have in this folder, but let's check. Hang on. Is it in here? Yep, here we go. So this is black. This is my fades. So we're going to grab this fade, and it goes from white to transparent. Now the reason why I'm using this, and it's going to go into my features folder, because the feature, I like to put a fade like that over the top of staircases to show that it's going up. This gives the idea that it's going up. If I put in, say, let's just say if I put that there, and I use this one. Now you can't see it on the background, but if I put it over there, see how it's black? I'd actually need to flip it there. So this gives the impression that it's going down. It's going down into darkness. So that's what those fades are good for. So at the moment I'm using a white fade to show that this is going up, that this will connect to the top, the ground floor that is above it. And I'm keeping that in my features folder. So I'm going to lock my features folder so that I don't accidentally move anything that's in it. The same with my floor folder. I'm going to lock that, and I'm going to close it up. There we go. I'm just going to work on putting in the walls, because I find with adventure map building, if you build the walls, it's easier to then come in later and fill in the floor. Okay, so this becomes a question of what are we going to do from here? So let's have it come down into a large 3x3 room. So let's pop back to Dungeon Map Tiles 4, grab our slender bricks. Now we could do something interesting, and we could have some curvy walls. So we'll make this chamber have curved walls for, you know, make it a bit interesting. So maybe this is an underground storage. You come down here, and this is a storage room, and then maybe there's rooms coming off each of these 4 cardinal points. So we'll want to use some cornerstones and doorways. So let's pop in. So a doorway up the top here, doorway down the bottom. Oop. The doggies are going nuts. Someone must be having a delivery. I'm looking after my sister's doggo, and she barks at delivery people. I don't know why. It's only delivery people. You could be breaking into the house, and she wouldn't bat an eyelid. Brilliant guard dog. Okay, so we've put in these walls. So we're going to grab them all and put them into our walls folder. Now, you would have noticed something happened just then. So let me just take these out again. Originally, they were sitting up the top here, right? Hang on, I'll actually put them there. One of the problems, which I think they fixed a little while ago, was that if the folders moved while you were trying to move assets, it wouldn't let you put things into the folder. So for example, let's just say I'm just going to put them here. You know, I've got these 2 assets here, they're there. If I selected them and then tried to put them into that folder, see how now I now can actually do it. It'll let me highlight it, but before it wouldn't let you do it. So you had to grab them, drag them to the bottom, so the folders would snap to the top, and then pick them up, put them in. They seem to have fixed that up, but I still find it's easier to select your assets, pick them up, drag them to the bottom, let the folders jump to the top, and then pop them into wherever you want them. It's just, you know, that's how it works for me. You may find a different way that it works for you. But anyway, so now one important thing to think about as well is with these curved wall tiles, you're going to get poked through of the floor. That's nothing to worry about, because when you set up the dynamic lighting, you're going to hide that. That won't be seen, so you don't have to worry about it. You can go and re-edit it in, say, Photoshop or GIMP, and take those pieces out if you're really worried about it, but it's not that much a bigger deal. People generally aren't going to see it. So let's put in a little passageway each direction, and then a room coming out. So we want to go back to our slender wall bricks, and actually go back here, go to our passageways. This is what I made them for, and plonk, there we go, passageway done. Another one, passageway done, and this one, there we go. So that's a short little passageway, and then we want to put a room at each location. So this will be a pretty simple little adventure map. So this is just going to be a square room. So we pop down the edges, or the corners. There we go. And that one. And then fill in the rest of the walls. And that is, oh, we need to put in the cornerstones for the corners, the doorways. So that is cornerstones and doorways. And we need this one. And just drag it in position. There we go. And now, so that's that room done. So we'll do a room over here. Pretty much the same thing. We could actually make this a longer room. So we'll make it a little bit longer. Instead of being square, we'll make it a rectangle. So that way it could be something, you know, could be something a little different. Maybe this is where the owners of this building get up to some nefarious activities. There we go. And again, just finish up the wall. So we go down here. Now, this might be a good time to cover this element. You may notice, well, it's pretty hard to miss. See how with this element, there are lots of little handles. So there's one in the center, there's one at each corner, and one in the middle. And then a little circular dot out here. They are controllers, so you can modify, you know, stretch, rotate your art asset. So if you click and hold on the little circular dot, you can rotate it, and you'll see how it snaps to 45-degree increments. If you hold down Control, it will avoid the snapping. You can just make it go anywhere you like. These handles on the corners and the middle allow you to stretch. So stretching out like that, and again, everything snaps. So unless you hold down the Control button as you do this, it will snap to the grid. So see how at the moment I've got Control held down, and it's allowing me to stretch it however I like. Whereas if I And Control C allows you to go back. Whereas if I just left it, it would snap to the middle of the grid lines. That's what I'm trying to say. And the same if you grab the corners, you know, it allows you to stretch it, but pretty much stretch in any direction unproportionally. So let me get rid of that asset since we've stretched it all out of shape, and pop back in. There we go. So that is that big room, and we need to put some cornerstones back in. Where are we? Here it is. And that's that. So that's that room done. And come down here. Going to do the same thing. So I'll perhaps grab the doorway cornerstones while I'm in this folder, because I know we're going to need them. Oh, there. And then come back up to the top of the folder, and we just build the room back in. Just slide down. To move around the map is the middle mouse button. You just click and hold, and you can move the map around. There we go. That's that room completed. So what we need to do from here is just put in our floor. And it's pretty simple floor that we're using for this little adventure map. Now, with this texture, I like to space it out a bit, because you'll notice that, because this is a grungy concrete with pieces of stone showing through. And actually, I'm going to need to... So these are all of the tiles that I just placed for our walls. So I'm just going to grab them all, again, drag them to the bottom. There we go. And then drag them into our walls folder. There we go. Now, I'm going to switch to... I'm going to lock my walls folder, so that way I don't accidentally move. Like, I can select the assets that are in the walls folder, but I can't move them. See how they're all... The control points are all red? Means that I can't move them. I'm now going to put in the floor. So let's start by putting that one there. And I like to alternate like a checker pattern with this texture set, with the basic... See how it's concrete, but it's like there's no inclusions. So for example, if I show one with inclusions, see how you can see the stones in the concrete? So what I like to do is space out like a checkerboard pattern with the tiles that have no inclusions, no stones showing through, and the tiles which have stones. So it helps to break up what could possibly be a monotonous texture. So we just go through and fill in this area. So it look a bit weird at the moment that I'm sort of going through and, you know, only filling in like a checkerboard, but it will come clear in a brief moment, and you'll see why. So let's just pop these in. There we go. Through here. Let's come back down here. There we go. Now this is where we start to use, if I scroll back up, start to use these ones. Now you'll see, as I was saying before, this will look a bit weird because it's overlaying the wall. These are actually meant to be underneath the wall layers, this, so it looks that way because they're appearing at the top of the layer palette. Whereas if we grab the elements, so we grab the top one, grab this bottom one, again, move them to the bottom, then move them to our floor folder. There we go. Now that they're in the floor folder, they're in the right position. They're in the right layer stack order. Now we go to the next page. So start putting these in. So now it's filling out. It's filling out our floor, and it doesn't look so it doesn't look so, you know, so same thing up here. But I'm going to do one thing interesting. I'm going to put a little trapdoor in the middle of this room. Just like that. So we could, if we want to, make another little layer, another little map that goes down to be the contents of this trapdoor. But because we've got plenty of space, we could easily just put it, you know, put that room somewhere around here, which is what I'm going to do. Just, oops. So just quickly fill them in. That is that room. So again, looks weird. It's overlapping incorrectly, but that's because we have not moved the tiles around. So we'll do that in just a jiffy. There we go. So again, grab the first one, grab the last one, grabs everything in between, move them to the bottom, and then move them into our floor folder. And there we go. Everything is now in the right position. Now, you can see here, there's a bit of poke through. Again, don't worry about it. We're going to fix that when we put in our dynamic lighting layers. Now, we're going to put in, now I'm going to make a little room here, which will be the underground. So for example, if you open up the doors here, you would see the contents of this room. So we'll make, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that there. So we'll make a, now I'm wondering if, so if I do that, select all of them. Ooh, it doesn't like doing that. There we go. There we go. That's what I wanted. So this is, unselect. So that square there will actually be this square here. That's not snapping into the right place. Let's replace that one. There we go. A bit weird. Okay. I've noticed sometimes with, I don't really know why, so I'll replace these. Sometimes, Fantasy Grounds, don't ask me why, when you place a tile, it will sometimes give it like a little black border, or it'll just very, very slightly change the dimensions of the piece of artwork. Like it give it a 1 pixel change. I don't know why. Maybe it's my poor graphics card having a problem, but sometimes it happens. Not a lot. Like you saw, I placed all this and it was perfectly fine. But this, yeah, something went wrong. And again, I'm going to put down some tiles. There's going to be overlap, Again, don't worry about it. It's gonna be fine. So we grab all these, put them onto our walls folder. And now we go back up and we grab our grungy concrete. Now I have one tile which is 2x2. Here we go. This one here. This is a 2x2 tile. I make these so that we can easily fill in large bulk areas, but I'm going to use it underneath this little underground floor area. Look, like that. So that little piece there is actually what's underneath this trapdoor. So if you opened that trapdoor, you would see this. But let's now go and, so this is all good. Let's lock up our layers. And we'll go and put in our line of sight information, so that when we put lights in, the walls will actually block the lights. And to do that, we need to add in a special layer. And you do it by coming down the bottom here, called Add Wall Layer. Oops. Oh, it's probably done it inside one of my folders. Where did it put it? Put it down there? No. There it is. Yep. So it's accidentally inside. Oops, I've actually got... This folder is locked, so I need to unlock it. Grab this one, delete it. Then grab that and take it out of that folder. Yeah, so sometimes if you've got a folder selected, it'll sometimes pop this inside it. But this walls, and I'm going to put it up in features and unlock the features folder. So everything else is locked except for that. So the walls. Now, the reason why we create this special walls layer is Fantasy Grounds needs a layer where it attaches all of the data and line information that we're about to add for our walls dynamic lighting information. Now, I'm going to create so basically what we're doing, I'm trying to think of a good way to explain this, is we're going to outline the walls of our dungeon with this tool, so that when we put in our lighting, the walls will actually block the lighting. Because if we don't do that, so for example, if I put in a light right now, let's just put in a torch, and let's just stick it here. All right. Now I'm going to pop back up here, and I'm going to actually enable our lighting information. There we go. You can see it's at the moment, these walls are actually doing nothing. They're not creating shadows. It's just this light is just shedding light everywhere, regardless of the wall information, because there is none at the moment. So for example, if I pick it up and I put it in this little oubliette like chamber, technically only this little chamber should be lit. This shouldn't be lit. This area should be blocked, because this is, there's a wall there. So we need to add that information in. So we're going to do that right now. So I'm going to turn this back off for the moment. Okay. And let's go back to our line of sight. So to create this information, click on the line button. So we activate the line tool. You'll notice that there's a couple of different options. There's like rectangle, there's ellipse. I just use the line tool. It's easy enough. It could be quicker using the rectangle tool, but like for example, let's actually try it. So we go here, create a circle. So we need to do that, but let's just try this out. Create a circle. Create a rectangle. Now I'm going to turn on the trim interior occluders. Let's just see if this works. Yeah, sort of works. But anyway, enough experimenting. I'm just going to go with what I know works. Might take a little bit longer, but you know, I get the result that I want. So I like to zoom in a little bit, turn on the line tool, make certain I have my walls selected. Like let's just change it. Let's change it from LOS data. And let's just start creating our walls. Now there's a little trick. You'll notice I'm going to start my line inside the map. There's a little trick. I'll show you when we finish. So we come in. So we're just drawing. And we want to be inside our walls. We don't want to be right on the edge. So we're inside our walls a little bit. Now, if you hold down the shift key, you can quickly add in, like it'll keep the lines, it'll snap the lines to perfectly horizontal or perfectly vertical. And I'll need to get rid of that line that we can see beside this one. I usually forget to hold down shift. So I'm not holding down shift as I do this arch. But as I come up here, so dump, dump. So I stop holding down shift, put in some of these lines, and then hold down shift. Now, this is where you'll notice I'm going to overlap here again. And you double click to finish. Now see how where it crossed over, it created a little point for us. That's what we want it to do. So what we do is we come in, we just get rid of these 2 points. So we can now just move. That's done. And if we zoom out, you'll see that, you know, this information goes all the way around our map, and we need to get rid of this one. And there'll be a point, I bet, sitting out here in the middle of nowhere. Yep, there we are. Get rid of that. So with this line data in our map artwork, and we need some actually over here. So let's just zoom in. So this is where I could use the ellipse tool. So to keep it as a circle, and then to keep it origin coming from where I started, you hold down shift to keep it as a, because if you don't hold down shift, it'll look like it'll deform. See how it's deforming? It's not like it's not being a perfectly round circle. So if you hold down shift, it'll become a nice round circle. If you hold down alt, it'll appear from the point where I clicked, like it'll grow from the point that I clicked as the center. So if you hold them both down, there we go. So now that we've got our line of sight data in where we need it, so if we go and turn back on our lighting, and if I go and pick up that light, so we can now see that as I move this light around, these walls, or the line of sight data, actually causes shadows where it normally would cause, you know, shadows. Whereas before, without it, it didn't create shadows. This light actually filled the entire map. So you can actually see if I have a light over here, it's blocking off this area, making it dark. So that actually affects what players can see. Same thing, if we come over here, we can see into this room. We can't see the room that's over here. But if I move the light into this room, we can now see it. So this allows us to go and do some interesting lighting, which we'll do now. So let me just pop back to our lighting and get rid of that light. So let's pop in some objects now, because this is effectively our map is done. So let's pop in some objects and then some actual proper lighting where it would be defined by the objects that we have in the map. Okay, so let's grab. So I need to grab some. It's the tokens and fantasy furniture. So let's use our fantasy furniture 2 token set. Let's go right to the bottom of the set, because I know right at the bottom. Whoops. I know right at the bottom I have singular objects. Here we go, like, you know, bread, a bucket of water. We have candlesticks, we have boxes. So let's just pop in some boxes. So let's zoom in. So these boxes. Hello. Oh. So where's that box gone? Oh, I'm in the layers. Okay. There we are. So it's popped it into, let me guess. Where has it put it? Did it put it in my floor folder? Let's unlock that one. Ah, so it's in the floor somewhere. Oh no. I've selected. Okay, so what have I selected? Where is it? Which folder have I put this in? This is very weird. I popped in the crate, but I can't tell where I've actually put it. Hang on, let's try something different. Let's grab a different crate. Put it here. This is really weird. It's not actually letting me select those objects. Maybe if I close the map. Actually, let me close my assets folder and then go and reopen the map. So our underground level, we are. I'm going to unlock all the folders because I don't know what it's doing. Oh, it's placed it as a... okay. I sort of see what's happened. It's placed it as an actual token. So delete this token. Okay, we don't want to place it as a token, we want to place it as a layer asset. Okay, let's see if this does it differently. Okay, so grab a box. It's placing it as a... It's probably because I'm in this as tokens instead of images, so delete token. Let's go back to here. Where are our... It's being weird. Usually you can place these as art objects. I don't know why it's... Yeah, come on. fantasy tokens too. Oh, poor old computer is not handling it. Yes, my poor old computer. We had some thunderstorms a little while ago, and we suffered some electrical damage, and my poor old computer has not been the same since. I've in fact been buying some gear to replace my poor old PC. Yeah, see, it's placing it as a token. I don't want to place it as a token. So goes layer, stamp to tile stamp. There we go, it's placed it. For some reason, it's only letting me do it when I have the tile stamp tool selected. That's really weird. So then we have to go to the selection tool. And now we can drag it around. Okay, that's the way it wants to be. Well, let's put a barrel over here and pop another one. Yeah, see, that's... Put it in as a token again. Delete token. Okay, it's going to be cantankerous. Usually you don't have to do that. Maybe they've done a patch or something and don't know why it's forcing me to do that. But anyway, it's being weird. So let's look for actually an altar. No. There we go. Here we are. So let's put an altar in here. It's going to allow us to put it in like this. No. Oh. It's being weird. I'll have to experiment and figure out why it's starting to do this. It could just be my computer's having problems, which is more than likely the case. Yeah, but okay, so how do I switch back? Okay, grab. No. Yeah, it's placed it as another token again. Delete this token. We want to place this object there we go. Now the question is, where's it put it? It's put it down in a folder. Somewhere in the floor folder. Here it is. Not meant to be there. Meant to be up in our features folder. Okay, so this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to show what this map will look like when you start to put in objects that then define your lighting. So let's go back to our line of sight data and create. Now these are candles, so I'm just going to put one candle on each of these art assets. So there. Then we're going to go and turn on our lighting. There we go. So you can start to see that as your objects start to define how your lighting is going to look. So we'll turn off the lighting, and let's have a look around for so what else could we put in? We put in banner. Yeah, we could possibly put in a banner. So we could have a So we can flip it around, put it down, and put it down here. There we go. Then we can have we can actually have a bed. We could make one of these rooms. Let's make this room into a bedroom. So let's pop this one. Oop, let's place it as a token again. So let's try and get this to do what it's supposed to be doing. There we go. Now we're going to flip it around and just I'm going to use control to position it about there. Now we want to have a little side table. So let's have a look at little side tables. Bench. No, not that kind of bench. Got blacksmith's anvils. Cabinet? Yeah, we could put this cabinet in. So let's grab this one. Actually, let's see what's going to happen. Whoops, it's done that. Let's see if we can undo. No, it's not going to let us do it. Yeah, something seems to have, I don't know, something seems to have changed and it's not doing what it usually does, which is really, really frustrating and weird. Let's see if using this does it. No, it's placed it as a token again. Well, I'm going to have to experiment and figure out what's going on. So I might actually call the live stream there, because this is pretty much what I wanted to show. Although we could show, because this is one of the things. I'll show you how to add in the descriptions for your rooms. So we're going to come down to our world, come down to our story. So I've created a folder called the small tower, and I've already created, just click that, I created a story entry which was actually the staircase for getting from the ground floor to the top floor. So I want to do pretty much the same thing for this floor. I want to have a description on this staircase. So again, we go add item, we're going to call it staircase. We might actually do a differentiate. I might give it staircase A and staircase B. And I'm going to drop a pin right there. So I'll put it down. Actually, I'll just leave it there. So I'm going to pop around to this one and change its name to staircase A. So that way we have a differentiation between them. But again, pretty much the same thing. But I like to give a description that's sort of, this is Game Master notes really. So I like to start off with a description, an introduction to the Game Master themselves. So, so this is a set of grungy concrete steps descending to the ground. Then we go for a Game Master description. And I like to make that bold. There we go. And then we're going to have, this is a description that you you would read to the players, or you would post it to the chat. So we go with dust covers the concrete steps that descend into the earth to an underground where storage rooms can be found. There we go. And that is our description that we read to our players. So let's just call it a chat frame. There we go. Now this is the next important bit. Map links. Did I call it map links in this one? Maps. Just call it maps. And then I have a link. So we'll have a link going down. Underground level. Going up. Ground level. So this is how you can quickly change between maps. So let's just put these over here. And then we want to drag this record into, because this is the underground level, drag it to that point. And then we go and grab our ground level, grab its record. Whoops. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Come on. Oh. My poor old computer is slow. There we go. So we want to grab that and pop it in there. So that way, when we're looking at our map, so let's just say we have a look at our ground level. So here's our ground level. So we would put our staircase B, plonk it right there. So that way, if I close that, so if we're adventuring through here and we go, oh, characters come to staircase B. Description. Here's the description of staircase B. Oh, they're going down. Brings them to this level. That's how that works. Same thing is if they're on, let's get rid of that. If they're on this level and they're going up, you can come along, click on the map note. Oh, this is the description of this area, and they're going up. Comes to here. Pretty simple. And then you do the exact same thing for every room. So you would have a map note here, you would have a map note here, one here, and one here. That is pretty much how I build adventures. Although not with all of the fussing around with things that don't seem to be working right. But thank you for watching. I hope I was a little bit educational as much as I muddled things up at the end. But I actually don't do a lot of map building in Fantasy Grounds itself. This is to show you that you can, as much as I did a really bad job at it. The map building in Fantasy Grounds is pretty easy and it is very helpful. The one thing I will say that is important to do is don't use your construction maps as your actual adventure maps in Fantasy Grounds, because this map has all of the pieces that you've used to make it. So it's actually very system intensive. Your system will be working quite a lot to run this, and it'll also have to share all these different bits with your players, which can be a lot of data to be passing over the net. So what you actually do, even though you built this map come down here to this little button here. This little button, bottom right hand corner of the map canvas. If you mouse over it, it says export image to file. So you click that and it will export a, I think it's a PNG. I could be wrong. It could be a JPEG. It will export a flattened image of your adventure map, and then use that as your adventure map in Fantasy Grounds, because that map will not create a lot of system load, where this your raw building file will create a lot of system load, which you and your players don't need when you're actually gaming. This is all Game Master prep. Once you're done with your Game Master prep, flatten it out, use the flattened image. But thank you very much for watching. The Black Friday sales are still on. I think they end tonight. So please check out my Patreon. Check out Studio Wildfire on Drive-Thru RPG, and you'll find all of our stuff at a discounted price, but only till tonight. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good week.